This cannot be stopped. The fact that my survivors, my clients, are 111 and 110, and they were there yesterday. They were there to hear the news. I'm so proud. I'm about to come out my seat. Let
I
me
know.
tell you.
I see you.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.
How many of y'all have 21 restaurants, 30 grocery stores, 2 movie theaters, and a hospital in your community right now, today? Raise your hand. Anybody out there? I know I don't. This was Greenwood, a place that people from all over the country, Black folks, traveled to move into. It was that fly. So on June 1st, here's what happened. I don't even want to, I'm gonna talk about it because we have to, right? Yep. So I break down what happened on June 1st, 2021. Excuse me, 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I break it down. Started on a Memorial Day weekend, May 31st, and then it lasted all the way, as I mentioned today, June 2nd. Greenwood would have been in ashes. There would have been smoke and bloody bodies. People displaced, trying to figure out what happened and what to do next. There would be tents set up. There would be lawsuits thinking about being filed, but just really the human carnage and all of the loss would have been contemplated on this day. And this weekend, we get news. I got a text, and then the story started coming out, and it's nice to hear things first. That the new mayor has announced a plan to launch a $105 million private charitable trust to address the long-standing impact of the 1921 Tulsa massacre. And I'm happy about this. I'm happy about this because there are 2 living survivors, Mother Randall and Mother Fletcher, who are 110 and 111 respectively. They've been living 110 plus years waiting for justice for Greenwood. Let me welcome the man that has been fighting most of his career for justice for Greenwood. Attorney Demario Solomon Simmons is here. Hey.
What's going on, Karen? Good to see you as always.
Good to be seen. I want to say
Great
congratulations.
Thank you.
But it's long overdue, so in many ways it's almost like it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet. I'm sad that Uncle Red's not here. I'm sad that, there were 4 survivors when you started. Now there are 2, so it's a fight. But what does this mean? $105 million private charitable trust.
Well, it means a lot. First of all, thank you, Karen, because you've been such an integral part of this work over the last 6 years that we had this next push that's gotten to this point. And it's been very difficult. We've suffered a lot of odds, obstacles, and oppositions, a lot of ups and downs. You mentioned we've lost 2 survivors that were with us when we started this phase of the work in 2019. But to get here today and to do all the work we did to lay the foundation to get a new mayor in office, and then to be able to work with him over the last 6 months to put forward all different types of proposals inside of Project Greenwood. And for him to announce, one of the things he had already done on March 16th, Mayor Monroe Nichols, was to make each June 1st the Tulsa Race Massacre Remembrance Day. That was one part of our plan. And for him yesterday, on the first ever Remembrance Day from the city of Tulsa, announced a plan to raise the initial raise of $105 million by next year in 2026. So 1 year to raise $105 million to get things started. It's a tremendous start. It's not the end. It's a tremendous beginning, and we are all feeling really strong and happy about it.
Okay, over the next 12 months, the trust will focus on raising private capital, setting up programs. This is important in appointing a board of trustees because we need people to oversee things and make sure they're going to be done correctly. We're looking at land acquisition, scholarships, grants, funds for businesses, clearing the blight. You were a son of Tulsa. You grew
Yes.
up in the on the ashes of this massacre, not even knowing what was buried underneath. Just
Right.
growing up in poverty and looking at, things not being done, not even knowing the jewel that was under your feet, that was created by folk with an imagination and a little bit of coin and some oil, with resources, we're able to build something that we haven't duplicated. When I started listing the airplanes and stuff, I was like, airplanes?
Right. Yeah.
What?
You got 7 families in Greenwood that own planes, 7 Black families that
You
own planes. You
think
know,
about that.
yeah, I know. And these people came, it was 5 things that created Greenwood. We call it Think Greenwood. Number one was the first thing was community love. The second thing was land ownership, and the third thing was self-determination. The fourth thing was wealth and education concentration, and the fifth thing was willful resilience. So people came there to be free. One of the sayings that they would say back then is they came to be a person, a quote unquote a person, because in white society, you was just a N word, you was just
A
whatever they
boy,
want to call
a
you, a
boy or a
boy, a
gal.
girl, a
Yeah.
mammy. But in Greenwood, you were a person, and so you're right. For me to be a part and a lineage stand on the shoulders of this community. I'm so proud because this is what Greenwood has always been, a beacon for Black America, the Greenwood of old. What we believe what's happening now can be a beacon for Black America moving forward. Other Black communities can do what we've done. Organize yourself, put in the proper infrastructure, create a proper organization, and then push and have advocacy on specific points. Those things you just listed off that this trust is going to do. These are the things we asked for and been asking for 20 plus years. These are the things that were in our lawsuit that was dismissed in 2024. These are the things that are in our Project Greenwood. These are things that are particularly, specifically for survivors and descendants of the Tulsa Race Massacre in the Greenwood community.
So there are only two left.
Right.
And their families, right? So how many people are going to, so this is the thing, all the people that talk about reparations, I never think about it in a singular lineage thing, because yes, while I am a descendant of enslaved people on both sides of my family, several generations, I can trace it back to the actual plantation. At the same time, when we think about reparations in these times, right, there's a notion that I don't want anybody else to benefit from my, this is my blood in the soil, my blood in the soil. I don't want anyone else to benefit from it, but it's a natural thing that's going to happen, right? So it's not just going to serve the families of Mother Fletcher and Mother Randall who are living, but the entire community is going to benefit from this trust. Is this reparations? Do you feel like this is repair?
Yeah, I definitely think this is a pair. Again, this is a start. This is the
It's
beginning.
the
This is not
beginning.
the end, right? And I think it's a great start because the repair begins first and foremost with those who suffered the harm. And so you're talking about the 2 survivors, but also the thousands of descendants. I mean, at Justice for Greenwood, we've identified 7,000 individuals who suffered the massacre. These are individuals that was living in Greenwood, working in Greenwood, or own property in Greenwood during the massacre. We've identified those individuals. And from that, we've created the largest descendant network in the nation. We have about 1,000 descendants in our network. We've done a genealogy for almost 300 of these individuals where we've been able to certify that they are truly our descendants of those who suffered the massacre. We've done 70 oral histories. So all of these people, and they're not just all in Tulsa, we have descendants all over the nation. And
Correct.
so the way these programs are going to be set up, these programs, if done and implemented correctly, we got a lot of work, Karen. We got to move this forward. We got to get the executive director in place. Like you said, we got to get the board of advisors, the trustees, and all of that's going to take continuing advocating to make sure we have the right people. But if it's done correctly, this is something that will last for generations for those who suffered the massacre. And because the massacre happened here in Tulsa, the entire city of Tulsa will benefit. One of the things that I was really proud that the mayor stated, there was something he and I had talked about many times. If the massacre had not happened, not only would Greenwood been an amazing beacon of Black people, it would have been a beacon of America, but just imagine what Tulsa could have been as an entire city if Green would have
Right.
been allowed to
Right.
flourish. So we're saying this is not only going to repair the harm, reparations for those who suffered the harm, but it would move the entire city forward, which we live here. So that would be a benefit to all of us also. So yeah, absolutely. I think this is a reparatory justice step. It is a step. We have a lot of work to make it happen, but I'm excited to work with our new mayor and make this happen for our community and our descendants.
Shout out to him. Again, Monroe Nichols, first black mayor elected to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Let's go back 20 years. Let's go back to year one. So this has been a 20-year journey. And I think when you talk about the fifth pillar of resilience, willful resilience, I think a lot of times when people think about these things, they want it to happen overnight, you know. So the first thing was you got to identify who the survivors are. So you had to build out this database, and that was a lot. What did that take to find the descendants of? Go ahead.
Well, you know what? I'm so blessed because I was able to really piggyback and stand on the shoulders of those who've been doing this work for the long. So I found out about Greenwood in 1997, and that started my journey. I was an undergraduate student, and so through an undergrad and graduate school, you know, I'm working, I'm researching, I'm giving speeches, things of that nature. And then when I get into law school, I was very fortunate to become the National Reparations Director for the National Association of Black Law Students. And because of that, I got in connection with Charles Ogletree, Professor Charles Ogletree, rest in peace, the great Charles
Yes.
Ogletree. And I was able to be a law clerk with the Reparations Coordinating Committee, who was led by Charles Ogletree and a brilliant lawyer by the name of Aja Artur, law professor, wonderful woman. And of course, Johnny Cochran and many others was a part of that. So I got to learn at their feet, Dr. John Hope Franklin. And it was a wonderful lady by the name of Eddie Faye Gates, who's probably single-handedly responsible for us having unearthed so many survivors' stories, because Eddie Faye Gates was a local historian, black woman, who was so passionate about this work. She herself collected over 200 oral histories of actual survivors and people who had never even talked about this before. And so we had that. So I was able to, you know, just really piggyback off that work. And once I became, you know, a full-fledged baby lawyer in 2004, joined the Reparations Coordinating Committee as a lawyer. We worked on those cases. We went all the way to the Supreme Court in 2005. It was dismissed. We had legislation in 2007 with the late, great John Conyers that did not go through. And we continued to push, went to ups and downs. And then around 2017, with the centennial coming up in 2021, we started thinking, man, we got to figure out, we got to do something else. And we worked a couple of years on our litigation that was filed in 2020. And as you stated, we knew we had to get these descendants organized. And that process required us to create an organization and create jobs for people that's like, I have 4 people, that's all they do is work on descendant information. I have a director of our
See,
We Are Greenwood program.
pause for a minute, Demario Solomon Simmons, because what I love about this discussion is that for everyone who's living somewhere, there's one thing, like you're a son of this. This is your town.
Yes.
And while you were working for the greater reparations, you know, for all of us, you brought it all the way in to focus on something that is right in your backyard,
Right.
and then piggyback or connect it with, because we cannot do these things ourselves. So while we celebrate you, there's a whole network of people. You're not standing there by yourself, right? And
No
it's
question.
super important, y'all. We unfortunately in this country we like to hero worship and put one person on a pedestal. And it's always going to be a network like this. That was Eddie Faye Gates. Is
Eddie
that her
Faye
name?
Gates. Eddie Faye
Eddie Faye
Gates.
Gates. Eddie Faye Gates. Let's say that. And I'm sure she wasn't alone. I'm sure there were people. But at the end of the day, it's going to only work if we come together. So you pulled it all the way back, got this to the organization, got involved, but you had institutional knowledge from working with all of these giants. And by the way, John Hope Franklin's dad, Buck Franklin, was the one that set up one of them tents. Was
Yeah.
out there trying to file lawsuits in the wake of that in
Filing
2020 in
lawsuits days after,
1921.
filing lawsuits days after the massacre in a tent. Filing
Correct.
lawsuits saying I hate.
I saw the picture. I saw the image of him in a tent talking to people. So this, you know, we can't quit and we can't get discouraged and we can't negative talk about all of this stuff not happening where you're not willing to be resilient. It took this long, but what really changed everything was having a mayor always say, you know, we have to be proactive with how we vote. You can't just not vote, and your mayor is going to have a greater impact on your day-to-day life than just about any other public official, right? And the city council that operates in the police force that operates under his purview. So if you're not voting for these people, or you're not electing the kind of people that are going to do what you need them to do, but you didn't just elect them, you had a list of things you wanted to get done.
Hey,
You
absolutely.
wait,
We
hold on.
can.
You didn't say, "Hey, what are you going to do for the black people here?" You're like, here are your marching orders.
That's right. That's right. And I want to give a shout out to my sister, Dr. Tiffany Crutcher, and the Terrence Crutcher Foundation, because it created an infrastructure to mobilize the community to do the things you're talking about, Karen. And as we were campaigning for Monroe and wanted to make sure he was in there, we were saying to him, "We want you to be elected because we want these things done." And literally the day after he's elected, we're meeting with him saying, "We understand you have all these people that want things to be done, and this is what we want to see happen." And because we were organized, and like you said, Karen, we didn't come with just, what are you going to do? This is what we want you to do, and this is how we can help make it happen. And we got to understand something. We're not going to get everything we want. Is $105 million, even as a start, do I think that's really enough? No. I mean, it's billions of dollars that were lost at this point. But we have to understand we starting a starting place, and you work and you build your organization. I think one thing you said, Karen, we don't realize individuals will never be institutions. Let me say it again. Individuals will never be institutions. That's not my quote. It's a quote that I've heard and I've always remembered that. We have to build organizations and institutions that can do the work. So the work of Justice for Greenwood is institutional now. We have genealogists. We have community organizers. We have people that's raising money. We have a huge legal partners that are helping us do this work. So as much as I've been on the front lines, been doing this now for over 25 plus years, I have a whole team of folks that are doing this work. And I'm hoping everyone that's hearing this, you see what happens. If this can happen in Tulsa, Oklahoma, this can happen in your community.
That's right.
You can do this in your community. And it may take you 25 years to get to this point, but it can happen.
And that's the whole, kind of mind frame. If you're really about this life, you're not necessarily thinking about right now. You're building for what's to come. You're making sure you're throwing this topic into the future. You're throwing this energy into the future. And it may take 25 years and you saying, "Oh, I'm 70. I'm not going to be around." Okay. I'm 50. I don't know if I'm gonna be okay, okay, but you don't just not do it. You still do it, and then pass that light that pass that lit torch, or you light the next torch. But then you coming in as you said, a baby lawyer, sitting at the feet of these giants, and then carrying it forward because I already know how you're rolling. This is so, to me, exciting on so many levels that I do see that. So maybe in your community is not you don't have a Tulsa massacre, but you got something. There's something that needs to get done that can get done. Maybe not in your lifetime, but you can get the ball rolling. What are you most concerned about? As this 1 year, so it's going to be 12 months of building the fund. Do you already know who's going to be on the board of trustees, or is that going to be a vote? Like details,
Yeah, I mean,
Damari.
it always comes down to the details, right? And some of these questions I don't know the answer to. We don't know who's going to be on the board of trustees. We don't know who's going to be the executive director of the trust. But these are areas that we will have some input. Look, we're not the mayor. We will not have the final decision. We understand that as much as we would want to have it, but we will have a seat at the table, right? And we
That's
will
right.
be able to have some input. And there are some individuals that we have put forth that we want to be on the board of trustees that I think will make it, that will be beneficial, not only for raising the money, but beneficial to making sure the money goes to the right places. The thing I'm most concerned about, I mean, obviously we're in a very dangerous area where anything black is attacked viciously, and that's going to happen. But one of the things that we were able to impress upon the city and the mayor is this is harm based. This is not race based. And I think for those who are listening to this, as you're putting forth your strategies, you got to think about you're going to get challenges regardless. But you got to think about how can you best mitigate those challenges. So when someone comes up and say, "Well, how are you going to get these black folks?" It's not about black folks. It's about those who suffered the harm. And therefore, that's why it was important for us to have who these descendants are. That's how it's important to be able to document these people own the property. Because in fact, at Greenwood, although it was 99% black, we do have Mexican Americans that were part of Greenwood that are part of our network. I found out just yesterday, literally just yesterday, there was a Japanese family that owned one of those grocery stores in Greenwood. Hey, guess what? They suffered the harm too, and they should be a part of this deal too. And so we're concerned about that, but we have such a strong network of national partners, people like you, Karen, people like my sister, Angela Rye, my big brother, my mentor, Brian Stevenson, who's been with me every step of the way. I feel so strong that this is inevitable. This cannot be stopped. The fact that my survivors, my clients, are 111 and 110, and they were there yesterday. They were there to hear the news. I'm so proud. I'm about to come out my seat. Let me tell you.
I see you.
On May 10th, we celebrated Mother Fletcher's 111th birthday. We had a full restaurant. It was almost 100 people there. We sang happy birthday to her. And when we finished singing, we just started clapping. She raised her hand and said, "Don't forget," and many more. That's the spirit that we're dealing with, Karen. This is inevitable.
I can't even imagine. But I want us to celebrate, but now the real work.
The real work begins.
Because I think sometimes we like, okay, this ain't the finish line. This is the begin.
This is the beginning.
Maybe even the second leg. It's not the beginning because you've been 25 years in. But yeah, now the real work begins to make sure that it's executed at the highest level. So we're gonna stay in touch. Yeah. We're gonna stay vigilant.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will